I'd like to nominate Keith Ratu for Shared Lives Carer of the Year. I've known Keith for many years when I started with Avalon as a support worker. I used to go around and spend time with my customer in Keith's music room and mess about on the guitars and one thing and another. And Keith and his then wife Jill welcomed all of Avalon support workers into the home and were really supportive. Keith and Jill supported their customer in the home since he was, a child really. Unfortunately, Jill, Keith's first wife, passed away a couple of years ago, which was, an awful situation for Keith to be in. But he continued as a shared lives carer for George. Never gave up through all the heartache, I suppose, at the time. And he has always managed to provide a loving home for George. Keith retired this year, and I felt really strongly that he shouldn't be allowed to retire without being recognised in some way. And I'm really pleased to say that Keith is now remarried, and this is, I suppose, his start of his new life. So it would be great if he went away with the award that he deserves.
We would like to nominate Audrey for the amazing work she's done with her long-term customer, Barry Gibson, after his long stay in hospital following an accident at work.
Yeah, Barry had a work accident in February and was told that he just grazed his knee. Audrey wasn't happy with this, took him to the doctors. She wasn't happy with the doctor's advice. She could tell that somehow that there was something up with Barry, who's non-verbal, can't communicate if he's in pain, and also has a very high pain threshold. Took him to A&E, took him back to the GPs, took him back to the GPs again, and then a month later Barry collapsed at home. She phoned the ambulance straight away and accompanied Barry into hospital. He had 10 nights in hospital. Audrey stayed 23 hours a day with Barry, even though she has a small holding and she has to get back to look after her animals every day. She slept in one of those lovely plastic chairs next to his bed all night. There was no private room available. Because of Barry's communication difficulties and his anxiety in strange places, she felt that it was just natural for her to do that. I saw Audrey on Friday for our regular support and supervision, and we discussed this nomination, and she just couldn't see what the fuss was about. She said, well, anybody would do that, wouldn't they? But actually, no, not everybody would do that, especially given the other commitments that Audrey has in her life and the discomfort of sleeping in a plastic chair for 10 nights in a row. I feel that she's gone above and beyond the call of duty. When I visited, I could tell that Barry was unsettled in the hospital, the noises that the other patients made. He frequently grabbed for her hand, and Audrey said that he would do that through the night as well. So not only was she sleeping in a plastic chair, but her sleep was disturbed just because of Barry's support needs. She's really committed to Barry's health and well-being, and she's just so self-deprecating about it. I really think that she's done a sterling job all the time, but particularly over this last 6 months has been very difficult for her and for Barry, who's now fully recovered and back to work, I'm pleased to say.
So well done, Audrey. We're really proud of you, and keep up your good work.
We're nominating Steve for Shared Lives Carer of the Year because over the past year he has had one hell of a year. He lost his wife a while ago, which was really, really sad, and he fought for his young man to stay with him because social services were trying to move him elsewhere, but Steve fought, and the young lad is still with him, and he's doing so well at college now. And Steve is just one of the nicest people you could ever meet. He's fantastic. He is always honest and funny, and he's just great.
We had a chat with Steve when he came to visit us during the office at the Shared Lives Carers meeting that we hold here. He was talking to us about how the young gentleman that is placed with him became his rock during his tough time, supported him throughout it. Quite openly will say that he wouldn't have actually survived through it and got through it if he hadn't had his young chap there for support. So during that tough time, he was his tower, and they helped each other. The young gentleman had been with them for a while, so was very close to Steve's wife. So it was like support for each other. They needed to be with each other, and the fact that that risk was placed on him at that time, that they were going to lose each other, made them fight even harder to be together. And that is what Shared Lives is all about for us.
And when Steve does come to the office, he's always been really helpful, like particularly with our new Shared Lives carers. He's been giving loads of advice about how to deal with stuff, the finances, and just generally how to plod on with Shared Lives. And he's such an advocate for Shared Lives. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he really is. Very, very supportive of Avalon as well. He comes down to the office. He always turns up for meetings. We had a recent event here in Doncaster, and he attended and stayed for the whole of the event, chatting along to other potential Shared Life carers, as well as our community support customers as well. It was just such a lovely day, and the fact that he took time out of his own schedule to come and be a part of that with us, it was really, really supportive.